Okay, so welcome. This is yet analytics webinar on reactions, which is uh, a new capability, a new way to use xAPI statements to assert new xAPI statements within SQL LRS. So to start with, what is reactions? Not what are reactions, but what is reactions? What is it? It's a thing. Reactions is an xAPI based assertion generator that's built directly into SQL LRS. SQL LRS is Yet Analytics Apache 2.0 open source learning record store. So Reactions is built into SQL LRS, and it's a way to use statements to generate statements. So what does it do? Reactions lets you program SQL LRS to issue an xAPI statement based on the statements that it receives. So the bottom line up front is statements make statements. So if you look at the illustration, we have SQL LRS. We have one learning record provider that is sending xAPI statements to SQL LRS. Say we have another learning record provider that is sending statements to SQL LRS. SQL LRS has reactions inside it, and SQL LRS uses the xAPI statements that came into it to generate a reaction. And then that reaction, that new statement, lives within SQL LRS. So statements make statements. This is what it looks like. Cliff will get into the nitty gritty of how it works, but sort of high level, you can program SQL LRS to look for conditions within statements that are entering the LRS. And based on the fulfillment of those conditions, you can program it to issue a new statement within the LRS. So how does it work? First, you decide what conditions you want to generate a reaction xAPI statement. Second, SQL LRS waits for those conditions to be met. Third, when the conditions are met, SQL LRS generates a new xAPI statement. And fourth, that xAPI statement is available in SQL LRS along with your other xAPI statements. So as soon as we announced this, I got a bunch of emails from folks. They wanted to know what it was. They wanted to know what it wasn't. They had ideas what it was, what it did. So let's talk about what it is and what it's not. So is Reactions a competency or credentialing engine? No. But you could assert xAPI statements that represent a change in competency or credential attainment. So Reactions is not a competency engine, but depending on the conditions that you've set up, you could assert a statement that represents a change in competency. Is Reactions an integration service? No. Reactions does not connect with or send anything to a third party. The newly asserted xAPI statements are exclusively available in SQL LRS. So Reactions, there's no integration. It doesn't connect to anything. This is entirely a process within SQL LRS. And it is not something that could be used by other LRSs either. The logic and the conditions occur exclusively in SQL LRS. Is Reactions an automation engine? Nope, it's not. The only thing that Reactions automates is the generation of a new xAPI statement within SQL LRS. That's what's going on here. That's the only thing that's automated. So you might ask yourself, well, then why is Reactions a big deal? And it has to do with the flexibility of xAPI itself and the inherent capability of Reactions' approach to conditional logic. We'll describe the rules for this logic in a moment, but the short story is that Reactions lets you generate a new xAPI statement with any variety of attributes based on SQL LRS receiving xAPI statements with any variety of attributes. And you just program Reactions to be on the lookout for them. This means that Reactions can assert anything. This is sort of this is the big story. You can use xAPI statements coming into SQL LRS to assert anything, and you're going to assert it as xAPI data within SQL LRS, and it will always be available there as immutable data. So think big. If you can use reactions to assert anything, then you can use SQL LRS to create evidentiary data for almost any business purpose. Here's an example. You're looking for learners that meet several prerequisites to attain an award in leadership. And they have to do the following. First, they have to complete 6 e-learning tasks. Next, they have to successfully pass a quiz with a score of 80% or better on their first attempt, or 90% or better on their second attempt. And then they have to attend a meeting in a VR environment. Oh, and they have to do all of this in that order. So complete the tasks, successfully pass the quiz on the first or second attempt, and then attend this meeting. The e-learning completions, the quiz scores, and the VR attendance are all sent as xAPI statements, relevant to the conditions that are programmed into a reaction. When the conditions are met, when it's checked that the e-learning tasks have happened, they successfully passed the quiz, either 80% or better on their first attempt or 90% better on their second, and the headset said that they attended the meeting, then reactions will assert the attainment of the leadership award as an xAPI statement in SQL LRS. So I think you can, start to think about use cases and see where this could potentially go, where you have complex sets of conditions that can result in the assertion of a new xAPI statement within SQL LRS. So let's talk about what's in a reaction. There are 3 parts to any reaction. First, we call the identity path. Then we have the conditions, and they include rules, and then templates. So 3 parts. The identity path, what is it? It's a method of grouping xAPI statements for which you're attempting to match conditions. So the most common way to do this would be around an actor. I want to look at all of the following conditions related to actors, learners in my data set. Then we have conditions. Conditions map names to rules for finding significant statements. So conditions are all ruled by logic, and the rules are greater than, less than, greater than or equal, less than or equal, equal, not equal, a fuzzy match, like, or an array containing information, as well as your Booleans. So anything that you can dream up to do with the logic of this rule set, you can create that conditional logic within your LRS. And then a template. So the template describes the xAPI statement that the reaction will produce. So before you ever start producing reactions, you're going to design the template that will show you exactly what the data will be that comes out as xAPI when the conditions are met. This template is identical to an xAPI statement, except that the object property may be substituted with template path. And what that is, this is a path that points to a value in a statement matched by the conditions. So you can say, if these conditions occur, there are going to be attributes within that statement that are in my template path. So think about interoperability, think about transparency. Reactions exclusively generate new xAPI statements in SQL LRS. The generation of these new statements is built on your own design of the conditions that SQL LRS should pay attention to. So this means that first, you'll always know exactly what format your data will take. And second, you'll always know why the data exists, what it means, and why it was created, because you're the one who's designed the conditions that resulted in that data. So how do I get reactions? If you have SQL LRS, you already can get it. It is shipping now in SQL LRS 0.7 and beyond. The latest version can be found on our GitHub, the Yet Analytics GitHub, and the technical documentation is there as well. I'll put links into the chat after I get done my part of the presentation. So with that, feel free, as we're going through here, to put any questions that might come up into the Q&A box. We will do an open Q&A with everybody after Cliff's portion of the presentation. So I'm going to hand it over to Cliff, and he's going to give a demonstration of how to create reactions in SQL LRS. Cliff, over to you.
Well, as Shelley said, the basic gist is statements make statements. So we have conditions, and each condition essentially lines up with a given statement. And then we have the template. So if the conditions if the conditions are met for multiple statements, then it issues a statement inside of SQL LRS. This format can actually be generated by this tool. That will inject that value from that condition, which, as I said, matches a given statement. So you can create any amount of conditional logic through this system. Identity paths, in this case, some of you may recognize this. In this case, we defaulted to actor, but it's not necessarily the only way you can go about it. So grouping all of these statements together, you might, for instance, use context registration. So you could say, in this session, X happened. And that is reactions.
The reactions themselves directly follow all of the attributes available in xAPI statements. They will watch for those conditions to be met according to those attributes in the statements, and then they will assert a new statement within SQL LRS based on those conditions. Thank you for hopping on today, and feel free to reach out to me, Shelley at yetanalytics.com. See you all. Thank you.